evening. Herol Graham is about to take a gamble. Not only is his unbeaten record at stake, he's never lost in 37 fights, but a potential world title bid will almost certainly go down the drain if he loses tonight to the American Charlie Boston. Now, Boston is the man who came to Britain a few weeks ago and stopped the talented Errol Christie in 8 rounds. That made people look up. Boston can box, and he proved that night he can punch too, and he's on the fringe of the world top 10. Now, here's the last British fighter to hold the world middleweight title, Alan Minter. How difficult do you think this could be for Herol Graham tonight?
It's a fight he doesn't really need at this stage. He's the #1 in the world. He's picked Boston, who is very, very elusive, very tricky, punches from all angles and can bang a bit. So it's a tricky fight for him.
And Boston's one of these sort of characters that you met in your time who hasn't had too many pro fights, but he's in with the best all the time because he's working in the gym with them.
I mean, he's been working with Hagler, Leonard, Duran, who are great, all, as we know, great champions. So he must know something. He must, you know, it's a dangerous fight. I think Errol's got to get hold of him early and don't let Boston get into the fight and back him off and beat him this way.
How significant was that win over Errol Christie? That was pretty useful.
Yeah, I think it must give Boston a lot of confidence because Christie's no slouches. He's a good fighter and he's been about for a few years and he's very tricky.
Now, both southpaws tonight. You were a southpaw, Hagler's a southpaw. Everybody amongst the middleweights is a southpaw these days.
They reckon southpaws should be drowned at birth. I mean, it's a tricky situation because southpaws, when you fight a fellow southpaw, you get hit with punches you never get hit with normally. So it's an
interesting one, isn't it?
Very, very interesting.
Well, Herol Graham's about to make his way to the ring now. Here he comes. His 38th professional fight. Of course, he's unbeaten so far. There's Barney Eastwood, his manager. There's the man himself. And at ringside, Harry Carpenter.
And welcome to the King's Hall as Graham makes his way to the ring. The famous King's Hall, which was the place where Barry McGuigan had so many great nights. And now Graham is the adopted son of Belfast. And he makes his way now before a crowd of some 5,000 people here on a rainy night in Belfast. The authentic King's Hall Belfast atmosphere begins to mount. And I must say, I do agree with Alan Minter about what a dangerous fight this is for Graham. Poised there, ready for a world title fight sometime in '87. And the whole thing could go up in smoke tonight if Charlie Boston does to Graham what he did to Christie. Boston comes with a record of only 15 pro fights, but as Des was saying, he spends a lot of his time, more time in the gym sparring with famous fighters than he does actually getting into the ring competitively. He sparred with Hagler and Duran, and only last week he was in with Sugar Ray Leonard, who's preparing, of course, to fight Hagler in April. Right, our MC already is Danny Small. Graham, of course, the European champion. Wearing a pair of unusual, very natty grey trunks tonight. Boston in the white. So Graham, 37 fights, 37 wins, an amazing record going back to 1978. Well, Boston told me earlier today that there was going to be no messing about. He wasn't going to be cautious. It was his big chance tonight. He was coming out to fight. Boston waves as he comes out. The battle of Southpaws. And Graham, too, it seems, has come out to attack. Boston's gloves held very high. Graham's gloves held low. Graham undoubtedly the cleverest defensive boxer in the country. And he can hit when he wants to. Graham is a little taller than Boston, but surprisingly has half an inch less reach. Graham's first appearance in this famous arena, although he has fought in Belfast once before, but in the smaller Ulster Hall. There's been a lot of talk here in Belfast the last couple of days that sometimes a fight between two southpaws doesn't exactly appeal, but it's clear to everyone already that these two have come to fight, and there's no standing off. And Boston will not find Graham as easy to hit as he found Christie. A year ago, Boston was ranked number 5 contender by the WBA, but has since lost that position and has slid out of the top 10. Nonetheless, still a dangerous opponent. Everything to go for here against Graham. Boston has a reputation in the States of being a cagey and sometimes very defensive fighter. He surprised us, and I suspect he surprised himself with his performance against Christie. And Graham ends sharply, scoring points. Brisk, competent, professional sort of opening from Herol. Bomber Graham from Sherwood. And here's the factual stuff about him. And there's that extraordinary record. 37 professional fights now since 1978, all won, 20 of them inside the distance. The last man to beat him was an East German amateur called Marx, and that happened in East Germany in a multi-nations tournament in July 1978. And I sometimes wonder whether Herr Marx in East Germany knows his little claim to fame against Herol Graham. He's risen, this man, in the last 3 years or so from an unsung provincial boxer who couldn't get a fight in London to the status of world star, the leading contender for the middleweight championship held by Marvin Hagler. The danger punch from Boston is believed to be the right hook. But every time he makes an aggressive move, he gets picked off by those long arms of... I can't believe, actually, that Boston has half an inch more reach than Graham, but that's what the figures say. Doesn't look possible to me. Good turnout in this King's Hall. Dangerous looking little right hand there downstairs from Boston. But he's doing a lot of backing off, and he's beginning to realize just how difficult it is to get to Graham. Graham has a trick in the gym that he sometimes pulls of having his hands tied behind his back, and he invites other young boxers to get in the ring with him and see if they can land a punch on him, and he uses just his feet to keep out of the way, and they don't manage to land a punch on him, believe me. And Graham knows full well that not only does he need to beat Boston Knight, but he needs to look good doing it. And he's probably proving a little more aggressive than Boston reckoned with. One of his quotes this week, the American, was that Graham doesn't hit that hard, but he'll be finding that out soon enough. And as he comes forward once again, Graham plants the punches on the head. And Boston's beginning now to find out what an enigma this man is. How do you get through and find him? So 2 rounds, and Charlie Boston here is certainly not ahead. From Trenton, New Jersey. 15 fights, now that's all he's put together in almost 5 years as a pro, and the reason, as I said, is that he spends so much time sparring with champion boxers. He's an expert on Marvin Hagler. He's done so much sparring with him, and consequently, whenever anybody's going in with Hagler, they tend to call on him for his services, and that's why he's currently sparring with Sugar Ray Leonard, and why in the past he's been in with Roberto Duran and John Mugabe. Useful man to have in the gym. Over on the far side, manager Kenny Bogner, who's the father of a very well-known American fighter of the same name, who's got a fight coming up in Philadelphia sometime next week. So Dad will be hustling back to the States. Quick right hand sneaked in there by Boston at the start of the third. If Graham wins this fight, his manager, B.J. Eastwood, is going off to the States next month to the American Boxing Writers' annual dinner. He's going to plead with the WBA to strip Hagler of his world title, the WBA title, because he hasn't defended it against Graham, who's the #1 contender. And they're going to ask that Graham go in with Iran Barkley of the States for the vacant title. A little bit of rough stuff from Roland Dakin, one of Britain's top referees, has a quiet word with them. That was a dangerous looking right. That was the right hook we were talking about. Determination written all over Herol Graham's face, fully aware of the importance of this fight, of course, knowing that he mustn't make a slip, at the same time taking every opportunity to get his punches into the face of Boston. It's noticeable now that Boston's beginning to pick up rather more punishment and getting tangled up in those awkward arms of Graham. Beautiful. Herol Graham has really become a master boxer. There's no doubt about that. Plain professional competence. It's all Graham at the moment in round 3. And Charlie Boston has his work cut out to keep himself out of trouble. Having to reach now from a distance. But there's still danger in the right hand of Boston. It's worth remembering, incidentally, that in that fight against Errol Christie, Boston actually was put down. Christie dropped him in the 6th round with a right hand. And Doug DeWitt, one of his recent opponents, also dropped him with the left hook. Well, an overwhelming round for Graham. He doesn't want any gestures from Boston at the end of the round. Ignored him totally and went straight to the store. A little bit of booing because of the wrestling. Boston has got to chance his arm here. He's got no other chance, really, than to throw caution to the winds, come forward, and hope to land something. If he stands off, he's got no chance. And he's trying to rub his head inside. He'll get told about that. And Choo Choo Charlie is beginning to make himself just a little unpopular with the Belfast fans, and possibly with Mr. Dacre. He's getting a right old boxing lesson at the moment. A will-o'-the-wisp, Graham. It's really like watching somebody from the past. There's all the moves, never there when you want him, and always there when you don't want him. Boston beginning to look to his corner. Anxious to say, well, I don't know how to deal with him, you tell me. And this crowd beginning to get slightly dissatisfied with the way Boston is performing. He's standing off too much, but now he's coming forward, which is the thing he's got to do. Otherwise, this fight, which is being sponsored by Smirnoff, is certainly not going to go Charlie Choo Choo's way. His gum shield is out on the floor now. And this is Graham going to work in a big way, and he's all over the place. The legs have gone. He's hurt. He doesn't know what to do. He's scowling at his corner, and I think the bella's gone. It has. So much noise. They couldn't hear it. I could only just hear it. And Charlie didn't like that at all. Now he's pointing to his gum shield. Get that for me. And he's a very angry man indeed, because Graham's beginning to make him look a little ordinary. Here we are again. Great series of punches here put together. by Graham. They came in at him from all angles. The ones coming up underneath, the uppercuts, are the ones that did the trouble. And his legs were splayed all over the place. So 5th round coming up. And Boston has problems. Another little session like this, and it might be all over. All those punches came up from underneath as he was bent over. Graham knew how to deal with him exactly. Now, the one thing Graham must avoid, and he'll know that better than anybody, is he must not get overconfident. He mustn't leave himself too open, because it's just possible that Charlie could be at his most dangerous at this moment. The gum shield's come out again of Boston's mouth. So now he's got nearly 2 minutes to go without it. Leaning on, pushing his head into Graham's face again. Roland Dakin kicks the gum shield back to the corner. No stopping to put it back in. He really doesn't know what to do now, Boston. He's tied up. He doesn't know where to go. He's worried. I think he's slightly humiliated. And he's coming inside now to try to get some respite, or maybe do some damage with his head. And Graham goes about his work with the icy coolness of the real pro. And there's that right hand again. Boston still has a little bit of menace left. Again. Well, it was round about now in the last round that Graham suddenly put that combination together that caused Boston so much distress. Boston has come back a little bit in this round, and he's much more determined now. And Graham quickly breaks it off at the bell. We are indeed at the halfway stage. Last night in his final workout, Herol Graham had the pads on with his trainer Brendan Ingle, and he threw an accidental punch even with the pads, and I'm afraid he dumped Brendan on the floor, and Brendan was out for about 5 minutes. Blood coming, just a slight trickle of blood coming from the American's nose. got to be one of the most frustrating people in the world to fight Graham. It's so difficult to get a clean shot at him. He ties you up inside. He makes you miss with punches. He keeps you out of range. And all the time, he's popping punches through at you. And they're getting in. Actually, Boston still looks quite strong in the clinches. He's up right again. We've popped out and caught Graham on the chin. He can't afford to be lax. That was a much better right of his own and a few more with it. And once again, Boston, trapped on the ropes, is finding trouble. But he forces himself out of it. But in the 6th round, Graham scents victory again. Half a minute to go. Boston still strong. Boston's mouth beginning to come open. He's looking a little tired. But he's still throwing the right hand. And the cool and unmarked Graham hardly taking a deep breath. It's interesting that these two men did actually spar together in Palm Springs last summer when Herol was getting ready for a fight in Las Vegas on the McGuigan cruise bill. The fight, incidentally, that didn't exercise him for too long, all over inside a round. This one's much longer. Here we are in the 7th, and although Boston is a mile behind, still poses a few problems. Graham taunting his man with the right. Oh, and that wasn't taunting. That was full-blooded. And again, Boston trapped in his own corner. Graham trying to finish it now. Boston covered up like Graham himself would cover up. And Herol didn't find it easy to put an effective punch through. Most of these punches have been taken on the arms and gloves. There was plenty of target downstairs, but Herol tried to get him to the head. He's certainly trying to finish it right here. And he's got a minute of this round left in which to do it. Boston's face very sore. But I suppose when you've sparred so many rounds with Marvin Hagler, this doesn't seem too bad. turns away, perhaps a little bit surprised that Charlie Boston is still there. And still there, but looking very, very unhappy about things, and seems to be at odds with his corner and with himself. What do you think, Alan? Is he going to last the distance?
Well, I've had a little bet in the studio that the bomber will stop him in 8 rounds. But he's taken a bit of stick, but the thing is, he's coming back towards the end of each round. But looking at him now in the corner, he looks a bit demoralised, Harry, so I don't think there's too long for him to go.
Well, they're calling Roland Dakin over, as a matter of fact, Alan, and it may be that he wants to get up. I think it's possible he's going to quit the fight. Paddy Burns talking to Roland Dakin, and it is all over. Charlie Boston has clearly had enough, and the fight is over at the end of the 7th round. And Herol Graham is now clear to go forward to a shot at the world title later this year. #1 status confirmed, and nobody knows that better than Charlie Choo Choo Boston, who tonight has been given a real drubbing, a boxing lesson, and he's taken a lot of punishment. And that in itself stamps the class of Herol Graham on this night in Belfast.